The Sage of Six Paths is a character who, despite all the information that we've gotten about in the anime filler meant to pad out his origin story, we still know very little about. However, Boruto Naruto Next Generations has begun filling in the gaps to the story of Hagoromo, and a lot of the information is unveiled during Sasuke and Sakura's S-rank mission to find a cure for Naruto's chakra illness, which, if left untreated, could rob him of his ability to use chakra and prove to be terminal. During Kakashi's mission to find info about this cure, which takes place during the same time as Sasuke and Sakura's mission, we learn that Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura have all come to the same conclusion that the Sage of Six Paths once suffered from the exact same illness that Naruto is currently struggling to fight off. In previous videos, many of you have wondered why the Sage of Six Paths didn't leave any type of a clue or a answer about the cure for the illness, and I'm here to tell you guys that your suspicion about him possibly leaving a clue are indeed true. In today's video, I'll be covering the part of the Sasuke Retsuden novel where Sasuke and Sakura break the coded message of the Sage of Six Paths that he left behind in regards to the chakra illness. Now, this part of the novel keeps building on the theme that a ninja must learn to see past deception, which is a core lesson that Genin are taught very early on in their ninja career. In the time after Sasuke and Sakura have discovered the map with the coded message, Sasuke has allowed Sakura time to look over the map and break down its hidden meaning. However, as Sasuke is sitting in a cell with the other inmates at the jail that Sasuke is pretending to be a prisoner at, Sasuke realizes that he's seen one of the images before as he looks into the lit lantern of one of his cellmates. What I'll do for you guys now is go over the scene in question from the novel and then come back to you guys to discuss what we just dived into. And it's here I'm going to begin quoting. Fire isn't the only orange thing in the world that exists. Maybe the bonfire was the picture for September constellation. Then again, what if it wasn't a bonfire? But what if it was the nine-tailed fox? Tailed beast, 1400 at the archives. Missing work, Sasuke met with Sakura at the bookshelves that stood on the western side of the archives. Huh? Skipping any preface or introduction and getting straight to the point really threw him off. Sakura got too familiar with Sasuke's tendency to be direct in his straightforwardness. She too took a second to respond after a deep breath. It's the purpose of the astronomical map and its constellations. 10 of the 12 constellations represent the tailed beasts. The one-tailed beast represented by the parent and child who played in the sand dunes, the cat who watched the flame of the lantern, the two-tailed beast, the tortoise climbing up a rocky mountain, that's the three-tailed beast, the monkey who draws in the ground, representing the four-tailed beast, the white horse swimming in the sea was obviously the five-tailed beast, the frog and the slug crawled out from the swamp setting, that had to be the six tails, the seventh constellation was represented by a tree trunk, the seven tails, it's the beetle. Sasuke spread the astronomical map on the podium to take a second look. If you look closely, in the hollow middle of the trunk, beetles swarmed out of the sap that hung from the tree. Ah yes, the constellation doesn't represent the tree itself, but the beetles that swarmed to it. The cow in the cage represented the eight-tailed beast. The eight tails being a mix of a giant ox and an octopus. The bonfire with its flames tailing out was seen as the nine tails. It was like viewing Kurama's sprawling tails from behind. Finally, the October constellation, the giant born of the earth, that had to be the 10 tails. That means the other two are left were the gray-haired man holding his cane and the shepherd observing the starry sky, the Sage of Six Paths and the astronomer Tataru, most likely. It's said that the Sage of Six Paths divided the chakra of the 10-tailed beast into 9 separate entities as he was on the verge of death, but that had to have happened after the astronomical map would have been drawn up. They still couldn't be certain that the 9 different tailed beasts were in fact related to the animals in the constellation. Regardless, it seemed that the Sage of Six Paths added himself as well as Tataru to the motifs of the tailed beasts and purposely adjusted the number of illustrations from 10 to 12. The calendar that they currently use was the same as in the time that the Sage of Six Paths once lived, and these were just added to be in the same number of months of the year. It could be possible, or is there another significance to the number 12? In quote. So what I really love about this moment right here is that you can see the husband and wife combo working together to break the code. Sasuke came to the conclusion that the shape of the fire must have been the nine tails and that the other images could have been the other Biju. Sakura and Sasuke quickly pieced together the fact that the Biju and the constellations are in fact linked. They also figure out that one of the images represented the 10 tails and the other two were the Sage of Six Paths himself and the doctor who he reached out to during his his travels through the country of Radaku. The reason why this is so big is that they are searching for the ever elusive polar particle that could be used to cure Naruto. Originally, the Sage of Six Paths was suffering from his deadly chakra illness, mustered up enough strength to split the meteor in half on a certain day at a certain time. The polar particle ended up being what sped up his recovery, and the Sage of Six Paths hit the two halves of the meteor that he actually crushed. You guys have to remember that Hagoromo knew one day that there would be a boy who would know all the names of all the Biju, but he never knew when that boy would come. He only knew that there was a possibility. While it's never 100% confirmed, the fact that he left behind a map to the polar particle and hit it and hit the polar particles themselves show that he did indeed believe that there would be a boy one day who would bond with the 9 Biju, potentially becoming the Jinchuriki for all of them, or at the very least housing all of their chakra, and thus he left behind an answer for the cure that the boy would have to eventually seek out. Fast forward 16 years after Naruto met the Sage of Six Paths. Naruto is now an adult, a father and a husband, and he's now so badly damaged by the chakra illness that while Sasuke is away on the mission, he constantly stresses over Naruto's health. It's bothered Kakashi greatly while Kakashi was in Radaku, and the small things like light taijutsu sparring proved to be way too much for Naruto's heart to handle. Another sign that Naruto's body is rapidly deteriorating. It's another small step towards finding a cure, but it's also a really major one since they now know that the Biju, what they represent on the map. Sakura's work on decoding the map now becomes a lot easier. I want to close out with this. I think that these Retsuden novels are so cool because they show us just how much Naruto is truly the glue that keeps Team 7 together, because when you really think about it, all the members of Team 7 have giant personalities, and when it appears that Naruto does appear to be suffering from a fatal disease, Team 7 is treating him just like he's a treasure that must be protected at all costs, traveling to a land that takes very powerful and extremely fast ninja like Sasuke and Kakashi over 30 days to travel to when they leave from Konoha. But I want to know from you guys, what are you guys' thoughts about this? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome